Us today, Mr. Shivshankar Menon, former Foreign Secretary of India and also National Security Advisor. Mr. Menon, I just want to check with you on Mr. Modi's trip to Singapore. And what do you think? It's the first time he'll be addressing the Shangri-La Dialogue. So what do you think will be some of the key messages that he will be speaking about?
Well, it's his second official visit, and he attaches a great deal of importance to the relationship. As you know, he has converted India's Look East policy to an Act East policy, which shows the kind of attention that he devotes to the region. And Singapore has been key to that. In many ways, Singapore is central to India's outreach to not just Southeast Asia, but to East Asia and to all these points, all the rest of Asia east of India. It seems to me that this time around there's at least three great congruences which Prime Minister Modi can build on. One is, of course, the emerging cooperation in the digital economy, whether it's fintech, whether it's skill development. This is an area where both India and certainly Singapore has a great deal of competence and where there is some complementarity as well. The other area, I think, is an area where maybe a little more work needs to be done, which is the economic integration of the region and India's role in the supply, production, value-add chains, global chains, many of which not just originate but go through Southeast Asia, and of which Singapore is really a hub in many ways. As we negotiate the RCEP, as we look at other arrangements for the future. And the third is frankly, the common interest in ensuring the peace, the stability, the security that growth requires, that India's transformation and India's need to keep growing. India is one of the fastest growing economies at 7.7% in the last quarter. But that's in order to do that and to keep that going and to be able to eradicate poverty and achieve the goals we want to at home, we need a peaceful environment, and we need, frankly, to be more and better connected to the world. And these are all three areas where India and Singapore have a great deal to do together. Smart cities, for instance. Mr. Modi has an ambitious plan at home. Singapore has played a role in extending that. So there are a whole set of things which, frankly, I think Mr. Modi's visit can help us in pushing forward, and where I think we will see commitment by both sides to taking the relationship to new heights.
There's also a growing tension within US and China, Mr. Menon, at this point in time. Where do you think India stands on this position?
Well, this is, frankly, theirs is a very complicated relationship. It's not only strategic competition, but it's also an economic codependence. They each need each other as markets, and they are economically, in a sense, joined at the hip. But at the same time, there's strategic tension and competition between them. They don't seem to have a common idea of how to take that forward, and there is now, even in the trade area, there's some public signs of friction, US tariffs on Chinese goods, etc. It's hard to see where this will play out. India's interest, as I said, India's primary interest is in peace in the region and in a growing economy in the region. And if that strategic competition starts affecting the peaceful, the secure, the which has led to the prosperity that we see and to the tremendous growth in the last 30 years, both in India, in China, in Southeast Asia, our interest, therefore, is that this strategic competition should not affect it. We will work with all those, whether it's the US, whether it's China, whether it's ASEAN, Southeast Asia, Indonesia, Singapore, all our friends, to try and see that we keep the region secure, peaceful, and that we're able, therefore, to continue to keep growing the way we are.
You mentioned India's interest is in achieving peace and economic prosperity in the region. what will be its long-term approach to achieving both of these two aims?
But we are ready to play our role and to do what we can, and have for some time. I mean, whether it's humanitarian disaster relief after the tsunami 2004, or whether it's anti-piracy near Malacca, where we worked very closely with Singapore, with our other friends in the region, with Indonesia, with Malaysia. And we did do something very successful, actually, long before what happened off the Gulf of Aden. We do work together on maritime security. We do work together against terrorism. So on the security side, we work with our partners in the region, and we are ready to increase that cooperation, whether it's defense, security, intelligence, but more than that, politically and economically as well. I think over time you will see a growing Indian role because it's in India's interest. And frankly, I think this is in everyone's interest.
Thank you, Mr. Menon. It's a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you. Thank you.